And just double checking some settings and things before we get fully started. Okay, here we are. Now it's working. So, let's see. Welcome everyone. It's the June Q&A session. I will be around here for about 30 minutes and you will be able to type questions below, type likes and hellos and thank you for being here, etc. And I have some questions that I solicited earlier in the day that I'm going to answer as well. And excuse me just a second, to pull this off, I have to look at the questions on the phone because the way the live video works on the page, it's really kind of hard to see it. Oh, let me do one more thing really quick. So it's easier for you all to see. It doesn't let me, it doesn't refresh the page as much. Oh, let's see. Yeah, it's technology. Feeling a little slow in the heat today, too. Whew, my brain is not quite kicking in. All right. We'll just do our best here. Have to move this one thing, and then hopefully I'll be able to see the comments better. Oh, maybe I should. Doing these videos takes up quite a bit of juice on the internet. All right, come on, computer, catch up. I don't want to be frozen right now. Did I just freeze? Great. Okay, so I have found it best oh no, come on. Let's just do as much as possible to give some bandwidth. I might have to come right back. Okay, we are frozen. So, we'll try again in a minute. Let's see. To pull this off, I have to look at the question. So, we'll try again in a minute. Oh, well, it actually seems to be working again. So, we'll go ahead and just keep going and assume that it's just my computer that's frozen because it's working on the phone. Okay, so sorry about the confusion, everyone. Technology, so fun, it's supposed to be helpful. All right, so welcome. For those of you that have not been here before, I'm Miriam Ortiz y Pino, and I run a place called More Than Organized. You can see in the logo there. There's lots of free resources and insights into decluttering and time management and simplifying your life over on the website, morethanorganized.net. So feel free to go over there and check things out. And I post a wide variety of articles and discussion topics here on the Facebook page so that you can stay in conversation and figure out the best way for you to get organized, because no one solution works for everybody. And I am hoping to get a few questions from y'all on here. So type questions in the comments, and I will do my best to answer them here. You can also go check out the YouTube channel. It's also just More Than Organized over at YouTube. Lots of past months question and answer sessions along with More Than Organized Mondays, which I do every Monday at 11 a.m. Mountain Time. I hop on and do a quick thought or tip for you on Mondays. All right, let me take a sip of coffee now that we're up and running and things seem to be working correctly. Go tell your friends. Join us, please. Okay, so the one last thing we're going to do is try this share button that I never noticed before. See if it gets the message out to more people. Okay, so as promised in the email, so if you're on my email list, you also get reminders that the Q&A sessions are happening, and you get lots of other things as well. And this morning, I sent out the reminder kind of teasing that I had a great question come in about KanBan for personal use. And I found it really interesting because at the same time it was being asked of me, I saw it posted somewhere else on another Facebook group I'm involved in. And so I'm like, perfect, it must be on everyone's mind, the KanBan thing. And I have been shopping for a new kind of frosted glass whiteboard situation that I can use to do a more formal KanBan thing. So for those of you that don't know, KanBan is a Japanese developed style of project management where you take a list of all the things you have to do and put them on Post-it notes or cards or one line, and then you can categorize those things either as want to do, in process, and doing, and then done. So it's like a 3-phase project management system, and it helps keep you really focused because you're only dealing with the stuff in your doing area at any given time. And you kind of limit yourself to 3 to 5 things that you're doing at a time. That way you don't overcommit and you don't get too distracted by too many things. And by moving them all the way to the done area, when you are done with them, you get that feedback loop closing that you are capable of finishing things, that you can complete a task and finish a project. And so that's really helpful in that subtle way that doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal, but it can keep you motivated and keep things flowing when you see that you actually are getting some work done. It also gives you a chance to pause on the things you want to do and see where they fit in your overall vision of what you're trying to accomplish. So whether it's at work or just for your personal stuff, you can have those special projects all listed and then you just move them over at will, or you can do variations. Some of you have heard me talk about the woman I know that throws all of her creative ideas into a crystal punch bowl and then she just pulls one out and works on it when she has time. So that's a form of KanBan, like a holding place for the ideas or the things you want to work on, and then you pull them into the doing area. It's the exact same thing I talk about when I talk about layering your schedule and pulling 3 to 5 items at the beginning of the week into your schedule from your master list, as those are what you're going to focus on this week. So the main difference from that is you're not necessarily reviewing things on a weekly basis. Sometimes it's a daily basis, and sometimes it's a longer period of time if you're still working on that one project. Some projects just take longer. Decluttering the whole house takes longer than a week. So you take the opportunity to pull the concept or the story of what it is you're trying to do into the doing column, and at that point it gets broken down into the tidbits that go into making up that bigger project. But the overall project is in process. And depending on the scale of that project, you may even sort some of that back into the will do when I finish this part of the project. Does that make sense? So a real easy way of thinking about it, let me just grab a piece of paper to do a quick kind of visual for people, because if you're not familiar with KanBan at all, it can seem like that seems too easy. So there's want, there's doing, and there's done. And so you just set up something like that, and you move it around till you can see it in the Facebook. And you use some Post-its, and you can color code them if you want, but you know, here's item number 1 and item number 2 and item number 3. So this is like the universe of things that you could choose to work on. And then just say at the beginning of the week, you're like, oh, well, I've been wanting to do this. I'm going to work on it this week. And you move it to doing. And then you can pick this one as well. And then say you finish one of those, you move it to done. And then you can move the next one into doing, because now you've freed up that time. So you see how that works? It's very easy, and it works amazing. Every time I start getting overwhelmed with a project or an ongoing situation, or just the sheer volume of ideas I have all of a sudden, I do them on KanBan, and I am so super productive. And every time I think, oh, I don't need to do it for a while, and I get away from it a little bit, that's when I end up kind of working in circles and not getting as much done as I would really like to. So I highly recommend this method. There's other resources online and stuff, and the beauty of it is you can do it on a chalkboard, a whiteboard, you can just stick it on your wall. I've always just kind of stuck it on my wall, but I'm looking to get an actual kind of pretty board going. And as you can see, okay, so when I don't use a board, I do have a master list, so I have a little list of things that are ongoing, and then weekly I move things to the page where it's the stuff I'm going to work on for the week on my calendar. So it's kind of the same thing. The page in my calendar is the doing column in my mind, and then the done is the crossed out items. So either way, depending on how visual you are, how much you want to use a board in your office versus something that you can take with you, that kind of thing is up to you, and the finesse and the fine-tuning of it. But I thought it was a great question because, yes, KanBan, even though it was developed for manufacturing of Toyota cars and has been refined by software scrum engineering theory and project management, you can use it for yourself. And if you like tools online, Trello and Asana both have ways of doing cards that can become KanBan boards. You can do it in Google Drive as well with just some Google Docs. In that view, you can keep one folder of just your projects, and you can use them like that. I think Asana and Trello have a nicer interface than Google Drive. But it's the concept that's important, not the final tool, because you get to create what you want it to look like yourself. And you get to pick which color Post-it notes you want to use and what color Sharpies you want to use and that kind of thing that can make it a little more fun. But it can work with a family too if you give everybody their family color and if you don't put routines on it. So routines, so one other way I've seen it kind of for personal use is at the bottom you have a little area for the routines, so that they can go back and forth, and they might be a different color. Let's see if I can make this work right. Isn't it nice to be able to do visuals? Okay, so let's say you have a couple routines. You have a morning routine and an evening routine, and you can say, okay, I'm doing it, or let's say it's the kids getting out the door routine, and they're doing it, and then they're done, and they move it over, and then at the end of the day, they can get their star or whatever. So you can use it for both. This can be the project area, and this can be the routines, and then you can double check. You know, it could be, did someone feed the dog today? Whatever you need to do. It can work for the routines as well, or action stacks, whatever you call them with the system you use. But it's that concept of just, there's 3 options. It's either something I want to do, something I'm doing, or something I've done. That's it. There's no do it on Tuesday when it's raining category, because that's just still haven't done it. Unless it's Tuesday and it's raining, and then it would be in the doing category. See? All right. So that was a fabulous question. Thanks for that. Ooh, Jan, hello. Hello, Jan Birch from Brisbane, Australia. Glad to see you. Anyone else join us? I'm not sure anyone else is here. course, I run my whole business from a very small laptop, and so I can't always see all the various things that are happening on my screen at the same time. So I apologize. That's why I have to check in on the smaller screen every once in a while. And if I refresh, I can sometimes see comments. Okay. So some of the other questions that came in. Let's see. How do I keep my family on schedule? Or how do I keep a family schedule? So a calendar. People want to make their family schedules really complicated. And really, it is just keeping a calendar with all the activities everybody is doing on it and then referring to it every day so you know where everybody needs to be. And I would say that the number one problem that people have with family calendars is they don't actually put it in there. So Google Calendar is a great way to keep family calendars, or iCal, because you can sync them and assign people colors and hide certain aspects of it. You know, if you need to look at and focus on just one kid's calendar, you can hide the rest of the family while you're working on theirs, and then pull everybody else back up and make sure it fits together. But really, try keeping it as simple as possible. Just assign everybody a color pen and use that pen, and everyone will get on the same page. It's important to keep it centrally located and where people have access to it. You can kind of supplement it with putting things in sheet protectors in a binder that support the calendar. So, like soccer rosters or class schedules or school contact information or doctor's contact information, that kind of thing can be in a binder near the calendar, or a folder or file on the computer near the calendar so you can access them together. But really, it's just like keeping your own personal calendar. There's just more people involved. So do it the same way for everybody. Does that make sense? I think that the biggest part about keeping your family's calendar is actually blocking out about half an hour to 45 minutes every week to actually make sure it's up to date each week. Make sure any changes that happened got entered and are reviewed with the family, a little mini family meeting to make sure there's rides arranged and who's going to do what, and does anyone need to get off work to take care of that one thing, or does something need a signature. Just looking at those things can really help, as long as you know it's not like a one and done. It is a constant ongoing process that needs to be reviewed daily and weekly and monthly and quarterly and every 6 months and every year, so that the family can all get on the same page of what is our goal, what do we want to have happen, what are we going to test out over the next little bit of time and see if it works for us. There are some more super specific things about how to manage a calendar on the website. And there's even my online course, The Streamlined Time Solution, can really teach you how to deal with lists and calendars and mashing them together. And it's a little bit of an upside down theory that I use in terms of you set up your household with the routines first, and then you have time to do other things. You don't do a whole bunch of other things and then avoid maintaining your household. So it's a different way of thinking about it. It's building it the other way around so that things get done around the house and you enjoy being at your house. And maybe you need fewer activities when you do that, and so then you don't have to run around quite as much, and it kind of simplifies things. Or it allows you to leverage the activities to support the things you have to do at your house. All right, so check that out. It's at morethanorganized.net. Let's see. I have a bunch of questions kind of about families and stuff. So I think I'll go ahead and do those here, just because it kind of makes sense to group them all together. And then we'll see what else is coming in to refresh. And maybe, I don't know, someone may or may not have a question. Feel free to put it in the comments, and I will check my email again in a few minutes to make sure nothing else came in over email. Okay, so this is one of the most popular questions I get asked all the time. How do I convince my husband and or kids and or parents to get on the same page as me when I want to be more organized and they don't. You can't. You can't change other people. You can change the other people in your life, but you can't change their behavior. What you can do is demonstrate better behavior yourself. And so I always recommend start with your own things. Make sure your own I's are dotted and T's crossed before you start harping on other people in the family to get more organized. I would say at least 80% of the people that call me to get help with the whole household think that it's someone else in the family's fault. And when we get into it, it's really everybody's fault because they didn't take the time to do that planning or set up some sort of family schedule and routines and get everyone on the same page about how they wanted to live. They just all live their own individual ways, not as a decided family unit. So that's the number one thing. Have some conversations. How would you like to live? What would you like your house to be like? What kind of feeling do you want to have when you come home? Do you want it to feel chaotic or do you want it to feel easy and restful and cozy? What is the feeling you want your home to have? Do you want it to be a nurturing, supportive environment for the whole family's endeavors? Or do you want it to be a crash pad where you simply eat pizza and sleep? It doesn't matter which way you choose, but you need to choose that so you know as you're organizing things what you need to get rid of and what you need to keep. And so you know what kinds of other expectations there are with the other people in your family. Do you want kids that are super indulged and have every toy ever invented? Or do you want your kids to be more thoughtful, creative, and interested in their interest and forget about the popular toys? There's different ways of looking at what kinds of things you're going to let into your house, and knowing that in the first place is really helpful. Okay, so you need to have that communication. Then you need to get your own ducks in a row, those I's dotted and T's crossed, and do your own stuff, your own closet, your own bathroom. Then you can move into shared spaces like the kitchen, where everybody works together to store, prep, cook, eat the food that nourishes the bodies, that allows you to have the energy to do the things you want to do and to stay healthy as you can. So you move from your own environment, your closet, your toiletries, your nightstand, your craft room, your home office, to the family stuff. The kitchen, the garage, the laundry room, and then the living room. And then you can move into the people you are responsible for. So maybe the kids. Depending on the age of the kids, you move into the kids' room, the baby's room, the toddler's room. You can start getting their help at that point. But do you see what I'm saying? You take care of the shared spaces second, and then you get to deal with the spouse. Then you get to deal with the teenage kids. Then you get to deal with the other random roommate you have or the parent. You get your stuff in a row first. Because every home, to have a good, nurturing, supportive home, needs to have some private spaces, some shared spaces, and there's a mix there. And so just think about it. If you go to a friend's house, you don't automatically start dumping all your stuff in their master bedroom, do you? I don't think so. If you go to your grandma's house, is that what you would do? Is that where you would go? Would you automatically just run in and put your suitcases in her master bedroom? Probably not. You'd go to the guest room, or you'd leave them in the entry hall until invited into where you're allowed to be. So think of it that way. What are those boundaries? Is everybody allowed in the craft room or just mom? Is everybody allowed in the kitchen or just dad because he's the cook? What's the deal with who's allowed in what rooms? And so start with that. It never fails that once someone sees someone else modeling good behavior and getting things done and knowing where things are, they start cleaning up their own act. So while they may not be perfect, you have to start with your own stuff and then the shared spaces, and then have another conversation with the spouse about, okay, so everything else is in order. I realize your level of comfort with the clutter is different than mine. So if you need to make a little bit of a mess somewhere, let's keep it in your office or your man den or your side of the closet. You know, keep a parameter, a barrier, a boundary around where they're allowed to mess up. Kids' playroom, you might want to let that be really messy while they play. But the bedroom has to stay neat and clean so that they can get ready for school and do their homework really easily. You know what I mean? You can choose where you're going to let them be a little more open and free with their clutter. And then leave it to them to maintain that. But explain that it's part of a whole shared environment. And so respect for other people's expectations and level of comfort also need to be considered. You know, I'm a pretty messy person when I'm in the middle of working on something. I pull everything out, work on it, and then I put everything away. So don't get all upset if someone's in the middle of something and leaving something out. It's more important to see what happens on the other end. And as long as you help them create the places for things to live and go and have some conversations, and if things get left out that are still annoying, figure out why. Is it inconvenient to put it away? Do they not actually know where it goes? Are they still kind of not in the habit yet of the new place, so they keep setting it where it used to go? All those things are just conversations and practice that need to happen. So don't get frustrated. Just realize that you can't actually fix them. You can set everything else up so it's easy for them, but you can't fix them, okay? And you want to have the conversations, the difficult conversations. All right, I have this note. It's kind of funny. I wrote a note. Someone asked about how to store kids and toddlers. I don't know. Some kids like baskets. I just have visions of putting the kids in the basket and then putting them on a shelf. But I think they really meant the stuff that comes with the kids and toddlers and how to keep that stuff. Again, what did you decide you wanted your life to be like? Most people default to no decision, and so they just let things happen. They let the clothes pile up. They let people give gifts that aren't appropriate or don't work for you. You buy things on sale or at the store without an idea of where they're going to go or how you're going to use them. You let the kids play with something more delicate when they have friends over and it gets broken, and then you don't know what to do because they liked it before it was broken and now it's broken and no one plays with it. So what do you do? There's all those little decisions that didn't get made along the way is usually the problem with the kids and toddlers. So you need to be very on purpose and have a plan of action. Like, how many outfits do toddlers need? Probably 3 a day. I don't know, I don't have kids. And I don't know, different kids have different levels of messiness. My niece runs around in the grass and dirt and gets sweaty and dirty and messy and squishes bugs and all that. And my nephew is a little more particular. He likes things pretty neat, and he'll kind of clean up after himself as he goes. So you just need to know what your kid's style is and what your parameters of their behavior within that style is. So you get to pick how many clothes they have and when you do laundry. You get to pick how many toys they're allowed access to and when and what kinds of toys. You get to decide a lot of things. But you're also responsible for teaching them how to be responsible adults when they grow up. So you need to teach them to make the decisions about what they want, why, what they're going to do with it instead. And I would urge you to not put your values on them. I have a lot of clients that the mom or the dad is the one that wants to save all of the kids' stuff. The kid's totally willing to let go of things. And it's the mom or the dad that has memories associated with the things. I would empower your children as soon as possible to make decisions about the things that are important to them and used by them as soon as possible. So when your kid says, I don't like those pants anymore, say, oh, great, can we get rid of them? Can we put them in the donation box? And put them in the donation box based on the kid's decision, not your feelings about it. And it's tricky. You did pay for it. But why would you make your kid wear something they don't want to wear? Is kind of my feeling on that. So empower them as soon as possible to make their decisions. And if they are a very sentimental kid, you'll have to work on it a different way on the other side. But allow them to be sentimental with boundaries. So that's where you establish some limiters, like a bin or a box or a trunk or something. And this is how much memorabilia we're going to allow. And once it's full, you're going to need to decide what else can come out before something new can go in. But empower the kids themselves and keep it simple. Bins or open baskets are a great way for kids and toddlers to keep organized. Too many little boxes and lids and cases that need to be opened and handles and that kind of thing. Too much, too hard, won't happen. Or it won't happen without a fight. Let's put it that way. So keep it as simple as possible, unless you have a very particular kid. I know one kid that actually labels the color of his Legos and actually sorts them in there. So if your kid is that kind, let them go. Let them be that kind. But no need to make it overly complicated for the most part. All right. Thanks for joining me. Thanks, Jan. Let's see if we can get more people on here next month. We do these Q&A sessions every second Thursday of the month at 5 p.m. Mountain Time in America. I think that translates to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Sorry, Jan, I don't know the Australia time off the top of my head. Anyway, I will see you on Monday for More Than Organized Monday, if not before. All right, take care. Thanks.